What is up there? Welcome to a brand new video on 414 Anime. In today's video, we will be looking into all of Kurumi Tokisaki's powers and abilities. Kurumi is known as the worst spirit, and this is due to the fact that she is a very brutal fighter with a very distinctive set of powers that make her an extremely difficult and dangerous opponent to face off against. Kurumi's attacks are relentless, her powers so unique. She has a ruthless personality and executes her battle strategies with calculated prowess. With the addition of her clones, Kurumi also gains the advantage of numbers. It's clear to see why this nightmare holds the said title of Worst Spirit. Kurumi, in my opinion, is, the one spirit in the series who has the best understanding, control, and execution of her angel as well as its powers, and this is one of the reasons why Kurumi is so feared by many others. Now, before we get into the video, make sure to smash that like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll be notified when new Data Live videos go live on the channel, and of course there will be spoilers in this video, so you have been warned. Anyway, with that being said, grab yourself a beverage, let's roll intro and get straight into the video. Kurumi's angel is Zafkiel, aka the Time Emperor. Zafkiel is an S-ranked angel that takes the form of a giant golden clock with Roman numerals on it that appears behind her when it is summoned. Her weapons are that of a flintlock pistol and a musket that act as the hour and minute hand of the clock. Kurumi, of course, has a number of abilities at her disposal, with time manipulation being her main power, if you will. Kurumi utilizes the power of time, shadow, and spirit energy to fuel Zafkiel's power. And just as a clock has 12 hour points on it, Zafkiel's hour points each possess its own ability that Kurumi can perform using the special bullets from her flintlock pistol and musket. To activate an ability, Kurumi will summon Zafkiel to the battlefield and will then point her flintlock at the specific number on Zafkiel's clock face, which holds the ability she wishes to use. The power is then loaded into the pistol, which Kurumi can then fire at her target. The 12 bullets or abilities she has are as follows. So the first bullet, Aleph, will accelerate the time of the target externally, which Kurumi will often use to slow down that person's perception of time around them so that it increases her own speed during battle. The second bullet, Bet, does the opposite of Aleph, where it slows down the time of the person shot by the bullet. This bullet can be used as a somewhat stall tactic, giving Kurumi time to dodge or evade the approaching target. The third bullet, Gimel, speeds up the internal time of its target, which will cause that individual to age. The fourth bullet, Dalit, again is the opposite of the previous Gimel, where Kurumi can rewind time on a target. This bullet is very powerful as it can restore physical injuries, basically, healing the target. However, it is not powerful enough to reverse death. Those who are already dead cannot be resurrected. The fifth bullet, Hey, will allow Kurumi to see a bit of the future of the target that is struck by this bullet. This bullet is extremely impressive, but does come with its drawbacks. The more this bullet is used, the more these visions put stress on Kurumi's mind. The sixth bullet, Valve, is a very important one in this series, as it has the ability to send the consciousness of its target into the past. More specifically, into the body of their past self. Because it is just the mind of the target that is sent back, the spirit power and time cost allows this bullet to be used repeatedly until the mind of that target becomes too fatigued to jump again. One of the downsides to this bullet is that the exact time period the target returns to cannot be controlled exactly, and they can only travel back a few days at maximum. The seventh bullet, Zayn, is a simple but effective bullet as it freezes time for the target that is struck. The eighth bullet, Het, is a classic Kurumi move as it can create a clone of its target. Now, the ninth bullet, Tet, will allow Kurumi to share her own senses with someone in a different time. As you can imagine, this is a bullet that is extremely hard to use and one that Kurumi herself has said that she has rarely ever used. The 10th bullet, Yud, allows Kurumi to look into the past of either the person struck by the bullet or an object. She can use this bullet on herself, which she did to regain the memories she had lost due to amnesia. The 11th bullet, Yud Aleph, will send its target into the future. The more spirit energy and time that is spent to use this bullet, the further that target can travel into the future. Now, once the effects of this bullet have worn off, that target will automatically return to their own time period. And the 12th and final bullet, Yud Bet, is arguably her most powerful. It works in pretty much the same way as the 6th bullet, Vav, in which it sends its target into the past. However, Kurumi can control exactly when and how far that target is sent into the past. Just as the previous bullet, Yud Aleph, the more spirit energy and time that is used on this bullet, the further back in time that they can travel. Now, it's also worth mentioning that despite being shot with the bullet of her gun, these do not cause any physical damage. However, the effect of that specific bullet will activate immediately upon impact. And of course, we have seen Kurumi use these abilities on herself on many an occasion, where she will point the firearm towards her own head once the ability had loaded into her pistol. Okay, so the downside to these bullets and their effects are that they require not only spirit energy, but as I had mentioned in a couple of bullets, time itself. Time is Kurumi's very own life force, which is represented visually by the clock face in her left eye. If Kurumi runs out of time, it's game over for her. Now, the cost of these bullets can vary from not a lot to, dependent on how long she wants the effect to last, to the extremes of her total remaining time. And one of the awesome things about Zafkiel is that if Kurumi doesn't have enough of her time to use a specific bullet, the ability's number on its clock face will not be lit up. So time is pretty important to Kurumi. In order for her to gain more life force, she can absorb the time of anyone who steps within her shadows to the extent of taking all of their time, resulting in their death. In doing so, it will replenish her own time, allowing her to use her abilities and even store up additional time to use them to even greater potential. And it's because she has to do this that she is feared by many and viewed as a villain, though Kurumi does have a certain criteria for the specific type of person who she will take time from, be it rapists, animal abusers, or criminals. It is, in a way, her own sense of justice, which is linked to her past. But sticking with abilities, and specifically in terms of her restoring her own time, Kurumi has a certain and devastating ability called the City of Devouring Time. This ability will target a large area or a large crowd of people where a giant red dome is formed representing said area. Not only can she replenish her life force from the unfortunate people trapped within, but she can also regain spirit energy too. The range of this dome can even spread over a complete town if she uses her clones to use this technique as well. Of course, the larger this dome is spread, the more concentration it requires from the main Kurumi, and is also very taxing on her. Because of the strain that comes with using the City of Devouring Time, Kurumi will usually only use it to cover that of a single building. Interestingly, this ability can also affect the time of non-human beings too, such as birds. However, due to their much shorter lifespans, there is little benefit in targeting them specifically. Now, we have mentioned it briefly, but Kurumi is also able to manipulate the shadows. Kurumi's own shadow is like her own personal dimension in which she can use her shadows to slip into as a form of escape. Not only that, but her shadow dimension also serves as a storage for her clones. Kurumi's shadow has two layers to it. The first layer is said storage we just mentioned, where her clones lay in wait for the main Kurumi's summons. And its second, more devastating layer is like that of a stomach, where her victims are digested, absorbing their time in order to replenish her own life force. Kurumi has also stated that it is actually too overwhelming for her to look into this second layer to keep an eye on her victims. Okay, one of the main standout things about Kurumi, and again something we have mentioned a few times already, is that of her clones. Using that 8th bullet, Het, Kurumi creates clones of herself that all have their own abilities, as well as all of her past memories and experiences. These clones are stored and lay in wait within her shadows when not being used by the main Kurumi. Not only can they be summoned to perform certain abilities, to scout, gain information, and of course fight, but they can also come out of the shadow in the form of creepy white hands that can restrain Kurumi's targets. As is the case with most clones in anime, these are weaker than the main Kurumi. The lifespan of a clone is all determined by the amount of time the main Kurumi had used on that 8th bullet to create it, so the more time used on a clone, the longer it will live. And Kurumi has a really interesting relationship with these clones. The conversations they have are pretty amusing, but Kurumi can be ruthless with them if they fall out of line. Because these clones are past selves of Kurumi, some of them possess feelings that the main Kurumi have long forgotten. We of course saw this in the second OVA, where Kurumi didn't hesitate to destroy that clone that had tried to change, which Kurumi saw as the clone disobeying her. Her clones can also be used as fuel for Zafkiel's abilities if the main Kurumi is in a desperate situation where she doesn't have enough of her own time to use. Okay, so later in the story, Kurumi gained a second Sephira crystal, which was Nia's Raziel, also known as the Tome of Revelation. She managed to extract the Cliffa crystal from Wesker and reverted it back to a Sephira using her 4th bullet, Dalet, which she then bonded with. Kurumi gained a new astral dress, which was a combination of her own and Nia's. Not only did she gain this new dress, but also the ability to use Raziel's powers, which she used to search for information and even used in combat during the Battle Royale. And finally, we won't touch on this one too much due to the spoilers and such, but Kurumi even had the ability of a wizard. This was when one of her clones stole a CR unit from a DEM wizard. The clone had other clones implant a realizer in her brain, becoming the antagonist of Encore 8, which is just a collection of short stories within the Data Life story. And there we go, that is all of Kurumi Tokisaki's powers and abilities explained. Kurumi is truly a very special character, and my bias aside, is a character whose powers have always fascinated me. Now, while you wait for more Data Live content to drop on the channel, make sure to click the video link here where we dive into all of the Data Live Spirit's powers and abilities. Until then, I'll see you soon. Peace!